Hey guys, Level Cap here. The Battlefield 5 beta has come to an end, but there's pretty good chance that we will be seeing a second beta after this, so keep your eyes and ears peeled for more information on that, hopefully coming in the near future. Today I wanted to talk about an interesting little gem of a weapon for the medic class in this game. A lot of the guns in the game start off in a significantly worse state than they can get to. And this gun here, the Suomi KP31, is definitely one of those. It's got a fast little rate of fire at 770 rounds per minute, but when you first start playing with it, it has a 20 round magazine. So it's going to allow you to kill one, maybe two people in a pinch before you need to reload. It's really not that adaptable of a weapon, and I found a lot of people preferring the other SMGs. However, if you start ranking this gun up and taking it down a progression tree, on the right side progression tree, you'll notice that there's an extended magazine option. Now, generally, when I think extended mag, I think maybe 20 to 30 rounds or 20 to 25 rounds. Not sure what kind of big upgrade they're thinking here, but it actually upgrades this weapon to a 50 round magazine. In real life, I think it was actually capable of going up to a 70 round drum mag, which is kind of cool. And according to the Wikipedia page, this was actually one of the most highly regarded SMGs of all of World War II, and the drum magazine is what inspired the Russians to upgrade their PPSH-41 with a drum-style magazine, and that gun is extremely well known and extremely popular from World War II. I think the Suomi was actually higher in production cost, which made it the one thing that it didn't have over other weapons like the PPSH, because I think the Suomi was actually a bit more accurate of a weapon. I'm sure we will be getting the PPSH-41 in Battlefield 5 at some point, and that'll just be an interesting comparison or bit of information to have when comparing the two weapons. So yeah, you can upgrade this gun to have a 50 round magazine. That is a massive change from a 20 round mag and completely changes how it can perform in close quarter combat. It can deal with practically a whole squad before you need to reload. I mean, it can absolutely deal with a full squad if you're really efficient with your ammo use and how many shots you take to kill an enemy. So that's really cool. The downside is that there's a few bugs with it. One, the magazine graphic doesn't change when you do the upgrade. I assume DICE will have some sort of visual recognition later showing the difference there. Also, when you first spawn in, it gives you 25 rounds in a mag, and then you have to reload it to put in a 50 round mag, which is a little bit weird. So definitely a work in progress gun, but once you're running around with that 50 round magazine, it absolutely tears people up. Not to mention the right side progression tree also gives you less horizontal recoil, and it gives you better hipfire accuracy. So really a close quarters powerhouse. I would equate it to something similar to like the P90 or something, which also has a 50 round mag. The interesting and kind of frustrating thing about SMGs for the medic class is, aside from the lack of weapon variety, is that many of them perform very similarly until you start upgrading them further. So it's hard to get a gauge on which gun you're gonna like until you just upgrade them a lot more. And it's a weird approach to weapon design and weapon balance with the upgrade tree, because when you first start off with a gun, you just don't really know how good it is or how good it's capable of being. So I didn't like the Suomi when I first started using it, so I ignored it and started focusing on the EMP, which I liked a lot more as a base gun. But as I played more with the Suomi, I realized that, oh hey, I can unlock stuff. It's got an extended mag. I only went for it because I actually read up on the gun in real life and knew that it had a massive drum magazine option. And so I was like, I wonder if the extended mag gives it that. So I went down the progression tree, got the unlock, got a 50 round mag, and was like, oh man, this gun is way better now. So that is the weird thing about the progression tree. It's going to give you a false sense of the ability of a weapon when you first unlock it and first try it out. So if you don't like it right at the start, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad gun. It just means it's not great at the start. So a weird approach, again, because generally speaking, when showing off a gun or trying to get somebody to use a new weapon in a game, you want it to be somewhat good at the start, right? Somewhat of an attractive weapon. But the upgrades and stuff for these guns really changed the performance so drastically. And in the same light, I upgraded the Sten to be much better at hipfire accuracy and was enjoying it more once I took it down that tree, as it changed what I could do with the gun significantly. The EMP I enjoyed at the base, but I didn't really get to test out its progression tree, so I have no idea how that gun's really going to evolve in combat. And the MP40, I only tried the base gun as well. So on one hand, it adds a lot of excitement to, like, oh, hey, this gun's interesting right now, or maybe I don't like it now, but could it be that much better in the future? And on the other hand, it's not a great sales pitch potentially for future weapons. I think players are going to have to rely a lot, frankly, on like videos that I make or information online on like which guns to use or which guns have good progression trees, because it might take you a while of grinding a gun in the future to upgrade its progression tree. I think the beta progression stuff was sped up a bit. I imagine it was so that players could test things out. Who knows how many kills or how much currency you're going to have to spend to test out upgrades for future weapons. A suggestion that I've seen pop up in a lot of places now is a shooting range. You know, Battlefield 1 lacked the shooting range, which was such a nice addition for Battlefield 4, where you could just go in, swap out different attachments, test out guns. There was moving targets. There was different ranges. The targets would go down in the same amount of hits that an enemy in game would go down. You could really test things out nicely. What if Battlefield 5 had a cool shooting range where you could just quickly swap between different experience trees or rank up a gun however far you wanted and test it out on the shooting range so that you could get a better idea of maybe what you want to progress towards in game. Obviously, not everyone's going to have the same amount of time as everyone else, so if you can't sink in hundreds of hours to the game and you really want to focus on a gun that's going to be the most fun or give you the most reward, it might just be a nice little tool for players to not only work on their aim and accuracy, but figure out which guns they think they're going to like the most. Another thing that I've seen highly discussed is whether or not medics being locked into only SMGs is a good idea. It's a cool concept in that it makes the medic a close quarter combat fighting class, which is kind of where you need to be if you're going to be reviving teammates and such, but it doesn't give it a huge amount of versatility. Right now I have no weapons to deal with vehicles if they get close to me, and I have no long range capabilities whatsoever. Playing on Rotterdam, it's not that big of a deal. I can kind of make the medic class work. Playing on Arctic Fjord, I can still make it work, but it lessens the paths that I can take. So if my teammates are going down a wide open lane with long range encounters, I'm not going to be much of a use there other than maybe throwing smoke grenades and reviving people, but I won't be much of a use in a firefight. I've seen a lot of people saying that they wish that DMRs were back for the medic class. I personally also wish that. I just think class and weapon variety is fun, right? You can lock people into very specific play styles if you want, but creativity and building a class around the things that you like to do can also be fun as long as it's well balanced. I don't think any of the DMRs in the game, like the Gewehr 43 or the semi-auto SMLE for the assault class, are particularly overpowered weapons right now. They're fun guns to use, but by no stretch would I consider them to be overpowered. They're effective at medium to medium long range, and you could pretty much stick them on any class, and I think people would be okay with it. So I'm hoping DICE continues to give the medic class a bit more variety and maybe mixes up some of these SMGs among the other classes. I mean, if you look at the assault class, they get assault rifles and DMRs. Then you look at the support class, gets machine guns and shotguns. You look at the recon class, they get bolt actions and some semi-autos also. I mean, you could easily take some of those semi-autos from the recon class maybe and give them some SMGs, steal some semi-auto rifles from them. There'd be some easy ways to mix up the classes because it seems like most of the other classes have 2 weapon options to pick from, except for the medic right now. So I don't know. I just feel like the medic could use a little bit more variety in its playstyle. Generally speaking, though, I'm loving the utility of smoke grenades now. Using smoke grenades to revive down teammates has been a popular tactic in more realistic military shooters, and seeing it become a viable tactic in Battlefield 5 is really cool and exciting. The speed at which smoke plumes out of a smoke grenade and how effective it can be at being able to push up in new objectives is really cool, and I like that I'm not feeling like I'm at a disadvantage for picking smoke grenades over frag grenades. Frag grenades now have that much longer timer, so they're far less effective in general and far less spammy. Anyway, despite the beta being over, maybe in the second beta you guys can try out the Suomi for yourselves and try out the P90 powerhouse that it is. There's plenty of more interesting things to discuss with Battlefield 5, and I'll be getting into them later this week. As always, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more content, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.